morning, everyone, and thanks for joining me. My name's Leslie, and I'm going to be teaching yoga this morning. It will be a pretty gentle class, and as usual, if any poses we do that you aren't interested in doing today, feel free to skip them, do something else, take a break. Everything we do is going to be optional, so please only do it if it's something that serves you. And other than that, just enjoy the class. We're gonna jump right in and get started. So we'll come either onto our backs or into a comfortable seated position. Just some position where you can relax, close your eyes, and just sit calmly for a few moments while we get started. While we're laying here or sitting here, we'll start to slow down our breath, start to take deeper breaths in and out. You can take your hands to your belly or to your chest, so you can feel the air coming in and out of yourself. We don't need to focus too hard on the breath here, just let it be easy and let it come naturally. And this morning, we'll take a few moments and I'll invite you to find what we'll call for today your happy place. So this could be an event or a person or something that you really like to do. It doesn't need to be complicated, it can be super simple. Your happy place could be finding $1 on the ground or ordering food and the person accidentally gives you 2 of what you ordered. Doesn't need to be super complicated, but it can be. But we'll just take a moment to think of something, favorite place to be or a loved one's face. And once you've thought of something that brings you to your happy place, we'll shift our attention to the body and any sensations that go along with your happy place. How does your body feel from just maybe taking a quick scan or a slow scan from head to toe? And imagining yourself in your happy place, visualizing you're really there doing whatever it is that gives you happiness. Just noticing what we feel physically, what we feel emotionally, what happens to our breath. We'll just spend a few moments settling into that feeling, a few more moments, a few more breaths. Taking one more moment, being with our happy place, and starting to open up the eyes, Make some little movements in the hands and in the head, in the shoulders. Coming into the room and taking a few deeper breaths in and out. Letting the belly and the chest go all the way up and empty all the way out. After a few breaths in and out, maybe even seeing if we can bring the breath into our collarbone too. The whole upper body filling with breath and emptying. And on the next inhale, going all the way up with breath, sitting up very tall. We'll hold our inhale for just a moment, noticing what we feel like when we're full of air. And we'll take the exhale, and we'll hold there for a moment, noticing how it feels when we empty ourselves of air. And letting ourselves return to our natural breathing pattern. And remembering briefly the happy place that we just established, and knowing that we can come back to that anytime during practice, in the middle of something, we can just decide to be in our happy place. And we'll take a moment to sit ourselves up. We'll come into a seated position if you are not already there. My mistake, we'll come onto our backs. If you're in a seated position, come down onto your back. And once you're here, we'll take a full body stretch. Reaching down through our feet, reaching up through the fingertips. Breathing all the way in. And taking a long exhale. Letting the arms and legs relax. And from here, we'll come right into cat crunches. So, if you're familiar with cat and cow, we'll be curving the back. We'll be bringing the arms and legs toward each other. As we exhale, we'll be stretching the body out like we just did as we inhale. So inhaling with the body long, and exhaling, bringing the arms towards the legs up off the mat. And again, inhaling, exhaling. So some similar motions here to cat and cow when we're in table pose, but just a different orientation and a different group of muscles being used. Feel free to take a break. Go as slowly or as quickly as you need to. We'll make this next round of breath our last one. And we'll come to rest on the ground. We'll take the knees, we'll put a bend in the knees, we'll take the feet flat on the floor. And we'll allow the legs to drop out to either side and the bottoms of the feet to touch with butterfly pose. And if it feels good in the body, you can cross the arms and grab your shoulders, or you can cross the arms and grab opposite elbows up above your head. And we'll take a big inhale here, And we'll visualize our breath traveling all the way down into our hips, into our legs, into our feet, going all the way up. And taking a nice, long, extended exhale. And allow the arms to come back down to our sides, and we'll help our knees back up. Letting the arms come out into a T shape. We'll lift the feet up off the ground. So we want a right angle in the knees. We want our shins parallel with the ground. We'll take an inhale here. And on the exhale, we'll let both legs drop over to the left. And the head roll over to the right. You just be in here for a few breaths. Letting gravity pull your body towards the ground and pull you deeper into the twist. We'll take one more round of breath here. And we'll take the head back to center, and we'll take the legs back up. We'll take an inhale, and we'll let the legs drop over to the other side. And we'll let the head roll over to our left. Still breathing here. Adjusting the legs if we need to. We try and find a restful posture for our hips. And we'll take an inhale and bring the legs back up. We'll send the legs straight up towards the sky. Circling the ankles, wiggling the toes, flexing, pointing the feet, any motion that might feel good in the ankles or the feet or the legs. And if you take circles or in one direction, remembering to go in the other direction, and trying to treat both sides of the body as evenly as possible. And when you're ready, bringing both feet back down and coming over onto one side. Eventually making our way into table pose. And checking for alignment in the arms and legs. And checking that your wrists are lined up with your shoulders and that your knees are lined up with your hips. We'll come into cat and cow pose. So, curving the spine downward and curving the spine in the opposite direction. So on the inhale, lifting the head, lifting the tailbone, looking up. On the exhale, looking down between the legs, pressing into the hands and feet and letting the tailbone drop. continue going at own speed. We are attempting to get this to become more like one pose as opposed to two. We're trying to make this as seamless as possible. One continuous motion. And from here, taking any other motions that might feel good for table pose. So stretching out the legs, or maybe making circles with the hips. Maybe even coming to a seat on your heels and finding some motion in your wrists. But just taking some time in this pose, since we can get to so many other poses from table pose, to reach out and try any other variant that might feel good. And incorporating our whole spine, so moving the neck, head, shoulders, upper back, lower back, the rib cage, the front of the body, the stomach, hips. Eventually finding some more stillness. We'll come into a balancing posture here. We're going to be doing some work with our abs. So we'll start by taking the left leg and the right arm off of the mat. It's plenty of work to just do one leg or to just do one arm. So feel free to do any variation of that nature for this pose as well. We'll start with right arm, left leg. We'll take an inhale, growing nice and long, reaching out through the fingertips, reaching out through the foot. And on the exhale, we'll come into cat pose with the back. So curving the spine, bringing that elbow and knee in towards each other. We'll do several more of those on this side. So going at your own speed, going as quickly or as slowly, or even taking a break if you need to. Just remembering to breathe, remembering to support yourself with your core and with the arm and the leg that are touching the mat. Next, inhale, reaching out through the arm, reaching out through the foot, holding here, balancing, a lot of energy in that front hand, and a lot of energy in that back foot to hold us up, and looking forward. Take the exhale, and we'll bring the arm down, and we'll bring the leg down. And we'll come into child's pose, so toes will touch, or come close together, knees will come far apart, and the head and the hands will come down towards the mat. A big breath in, and an exhale. And slowly coming back into table pose. Setting up for the opposite side. So pressing down into the right hand, pressing down into the left foot. We'll take the right leg up off of the mat. And we'll take the left arm up off the mat. We'll take an inhale here, flexing the fingers, flexing the foot, flexing the core, and just growing really long through that arm and that leg. On the exhale, crunching in. Inhale, reaching out, growing long. Exhale, cat pose. And we'll continue. Do several more of these. Do as many or as few as you like, at whatever speed you like. And take a break. This can be a lot of work for the arms and the legs and the core. So just doing what is effective rather than too little or too much. On our next inhale, reaching out through the arm, reaching out through that back leg. Finding some stability here, flexing everything, and coming all the way down in a child's pose again. Taking a big breath in, allowing the torso to grow really broad, really big, taking up a lot of space, spreading out the fingertips, allowing the hips to sink down towards the earth. And taking really big breaths in and out. Trying to fill up the back of the body with air. Filling up and emptying out as much as possible. We almost want to be gluttonous with the inhales and exhales we're taking in this pose. We'll press into the hands and we'll take the head up off of the mat. Take our hips, start to bring our hips up and back. And we'll press ourselves up into downward facing dog. So pressing into the fingertips and pressing into the toes here. Pressing the hips back in a way that pulls the weight of our body out of our shoulders. Maybe finding some motion in the hips or in the legs, bending one knee, bending the other knee. Maybe finding motion in the neck or in the head. Eventually finding some stillness. It's okay to keep a bend in the elbows or a bend in the knees. We'll take our gaze in between our hands. And we'll start to walk our feet up to that spot. And we'll come into a forward fold. We have our hands on the hips, on opposite elbows, maybe interlaced behind the back, wherever is comfortable. Take our hands to the hips. We'll straighten out the back. And we'll come all the way up into standing position. Maybe we'll take a moment here in stillness, just regaining our equilibrium because we were upside down for a long time. And pressing our feet into the ground, lifting the head towards the sky. And from here, we'll start to make some circles with the neck. So letting the head drop to one side, roll forward and around, going very slowly at first. Eventually switching sides. Going in reverse. And we'll slow the head down and start to make circles with our shoulders. So squeezing the shoulders up towards the ears and letting them drop down and back. May feel better for some people to do one shoulder at a time. And we'll eventually take our shoulders in the opposite direction, so letting them drop down and back, and then squeeze up towards the ears and come forward. Eventually that motion will come to a stop, and we'll bring the hands onto the hips. We'll bring the feet a little wider apart, and we'll start to bring some motion into the hips. So now making circles with the hips. Again, going slowly and being careful. Eventually going in both directions. Eventually coming to a stop. At this point in the class, I usually like to offer something to get us moving around a little more and get our heart rate up. You're welcome to do running in place or jumping up and down or shaking or any other activity you want to do, or you can do the one that I'm offering today. So today we're going to be using an invisible jump rope. Lots of fun, very low cost, never goes out of style. So we're going to just be jumping up and down in place as if we have a jump rope for a few minutes. There's no particularly correct way or wrong way to do the pose. We just are simply trying to get ourselves to, get our blood pumping, use up a little more energy than you normally would. So we'll start now, invisible jump rope. doesn't need to be a super serious activity. So it's okay to move out of place or slow down or speed up. And if you're experiencing any pain, you don't need to leave the ground for this activity. You can simply bend the knees and just do bouncing. And another wonderful thing is about an invisible jump rope is you can't really mess up. You can't hit yourself with it. You can just keep going. There's about a minute of this left, so maybe use that last minute to really go faster, work harder, be more excited than you've been. Eventually slowing down, preparing to come to a stop. We won't come all the way to a stop. We'll transition into empty coat sleeves little by little. So allowing the torso to move while the arms are carried along. It's also a good time to just take a break completely if you need one. And as you're turning to one side, it might feel good if the opposite foot comes off of the ground, the opposite heel of that foot. And we'll eventually finding complete stillness, closing the eyes, pressing the feet into the ground, letting the palms face forward, and reaching your spine up nice and tall towards the sky. Taking a few breaths in and out. And just scanning the body and noticing any differences between before and after moving around. Eventually reopening the eyes, putting a big bend in the knees, reaching the arms out and up and overhead. And bringing the hands towards the heart. One more breath like that. Taking an inhale, reaching the arms out and up. And exhale, hands come towards the heart. We'll take one more, and as we reach out and up, the hands will come all the way down at the end of that breath. And forward fold. Take an inhale, we'll reach the head forward, we'll come to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands meet in front of the heart. We'll do another of those. Inhale, arms reach all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Exhale, hands meet in front of the heart. We'll do one last one of those. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Reach all the way up. And exhale. Hands meet in front of your heart. And we'll take another inhale here. Reach your arms back up one last time. And this time as we forward fold, we'll put a bend in our knees and we'll come back into downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here, stretching out through the backs of the legs. Pressing into the fingertips and sending the heels towards the mat. You don't need to touch the mat, but pressing them down towards it. From downward dog, we'll come into dancing warrior. So we will take our left leg up off the mat, reaching it out long behind us. And we'll put a bend in that leg. We'll bring that foot forward in between the hands. And taking an inhale here, we'll bring ourselves all the way up into warrior one. You can use that left thigh to help you up. We'll turn to our side, exhaling to warrior two. You may have to pivot the feet a lot here to get into all the poses. So changing the feet whenever necessary. We'll take an inhale, letting the right hand drop and the left hand come up. We'll reverse our warrior. And on the exhale, coming to the other side. So taking the left elbow to the left knee and the right hand up. Extended warrior. Come back into warrior two. And we'll turn towards our left leg for warrior one. We'll come all the way back down to the mat. Palms on the mat. Left leg steps back to meet the right leg. Back into downward facing dog. And relaxing here. Taking a few breaths in and out. Maybe as you inhale, you come way up on the toes. As you exhale, you allow the heels back down to the earth. Eventually, we'll get ready for the other side. So the right leg will come up off the mat. Right toes reach back. Put a bend in the right knee and bring the right foot all the way forward, the middle of the hands. And we'll do whatever we need to do to get ourselves up into warrior one with our right leg forward this time. Inhaling here and exhaling into warrior two. I'll take another inhale, reverse warrior. And on the exhale, extended warrior. Eventually bring yourselves back up to Warrior 2. Back to Warrior 1 towards our right leg. And eventually finding our way all the way back down. Downward facing dog. And taking a few breaths in and out here. Again, maybe we come up onto the toes as we inhale, and back down as we exhale. We'll look down at the hands, and we'll take our feet towards the hands. We'll come to a flat back, and we'll come all the way back up to standing. We'll take the left leg, and we'll hug that knee in. Take the left leg up, hugging that knee in, balancing on the right foot. We'll take the hands to the heart. And we'll try to extend that leg out behind us to step back into triangle pose with the feet. So if stepping doesn't get you all the way quite there, adjust your feet once you're there. Adjust your arms for triangle pose. Maybe find some motion in the hips. Send the hips towards the left. And drop the right arm down as the left arm rises. And we'll fold over our right leg. Take a big inhale here, a big exhale. We'll eventually pivot the feet, bringing that back knee down, bringing both hands to the inside of the right foot. And the back leg can be up or it can be down. Whatever makes this pose accessible for you today. So, some of us may have our leg completely straight behind us. And if you are, if it is more comfortable for you, you are able to come down even all the way onto your forearms in this pose if you like. Whatever you choose, wherever you are in this pose, still breathing, trying to keep a sense of calm in our hips. In our minds. And eventually, stepping the front foot back, or the back foot forward. We'll find our way back to down dog. We'll eventually find our way back to a standing position. And we'll take that same pose from before, that balancing pose on the right side. So pressing down into the left foot and lifting the right leg up off the mat. Bringing the hands in front of the chest in the prayer pose and sending that right leg out back behind you. Maybe it helps to put a bend in the front knee. And stepping the legs into triangle. And if stepping back didn't quite get you there, adjusting your legs so that you're in triangle pose. Then adjusting your arms so that you're in triangle pose. And finding some motion in our hips. Remembering to keep breathing. Sending our hips eventually to the right. And letting the left arm drop down towards the leg and the right arm come up. Triangle pose. And we'll eventually start to fold over the left leg. And transitioning as slowly or as quickly as we'd like, we'll come into lizard pose. So that's both hands will come to the inner side of that left foot. The back leg will come down. And we'll start to sink into the hips. So you can have palms flat on the mat or forearms on the mat. And that left leg might be spilling out to the side, that's okay. Just finding somewhere where we can relax or remain calm or feel stable. And if you stop breathing, remember to keep doing that. Eventually, taking our time, coming out of this pose, we'll find ourselves back in downward facing dog. Maybe at this point you can get your heels to the mat. So, pressing the fingertips down, the toes down, the ball of the feet down, pressing the hips up and back. Maybe you can get your heels closer to the mat. And we'll start to put a bend in the knees. We'll come all the way down in child's pose. Trying our best to stop doing any work we might be doing and just let go of any previous poses you might have done and just relax here. And use the palms to press ourselves back up. And we'll take the feet and we'll take the knees wider on the mat so that the toes point out to either side. And we'll take ourselves down so that we're on our forearms on the mat. So arms are wide apart, legs are wide apart. And we'll start to send the hips towards the back of the mat, pressing backwards with the hips. You can come in and out of this pose, or you can move very gradually. But it's usually very easy in this pose to notice when you come up against some sort of resistance. Usually pretty quickly we notice what we're feeling in our hips. So not doing too much work or being in pain, but seeing what intensity we might meet up with in this pose, and just noticing it, not trying to change or fix anything or get anything right, just noticing what's happening. And eventually making our way all the way down to lay on the stomach. Taking a big inhale And then exhale. We'll put that same angle from before in our arm and leg, but this time just the left arm and just the left leg. So as we're laying on our stomachs, our right arm and right leg will be straight. Our left arm and left leg will come into a 90-degree bend, so that elbow and that knee are coming towards each other, laying flat on the floor. And eventually taking that pose to the other side, whenever you're ready. Straightening out the left leg and left arm, and putting a bend in the right arm and right leg. Eventually straightening out both arms and both legs, folding the arms underneath your head, getting your pillow with your hands, putting a bend in the knees and sending the feet up, then allowing the feet to drop from side to side. And eventually stopping, rolling ourselves over onto one side. And coming into a fetal position. We'll hug the knees into the chest here on our side. We'll just take a moment to get very small, very compact. And just taking a moment with an embrace that you give yourself. Acknowledging the relationship that we all have with ourselves for just a moment. And whatever that means to you, whatever that relationship is, just acknowledging it, no matter what it may be. Eventually, when you feel finished, rolling onto your back, sending the legs up one last time. Or any inversion that might feel good. If you have any kind of props or pillows, it might be fun that might feel nice to experiment with cushions underneath the low back while the legs are in the air. Or if it's accessible to you, and bring the legs even further up, standing on the shoulders, or you can allow the legs to fall by the head. Of course, these benefits are still gained from just the leg inversion. the legs drop out into the shape of a V. If you need to, you can use the hands to support the legs. And eventually bring the legs all the way down. Coming in the corpse pose. Corpse pose is traditionally done lying on your back, with your eyes closed. But since most of us are probably in our own homes doing whatever we want, feel free to grab any cushions or props or sit for your Savasana, your corpse pose. But regardless, we're just going to take a few moments of silence and calm to reflect on what we just did, sort of let it sink in, and to let go of any challenges we might have faced or anything our bodies might have done that they feel like they're still hanging on to. Now's a great opportunity to decide to let go of that pose or that emotion or anything else you want to let go of. I'm also going to invite everyone to, if you were here at the beginning of practice, return to your happy place. So this can be anything. It could be your favorite food, your favorite person, your friends, your family, your favorite movie, your favorite candy, anything. It doesn't need to be complicated. Just something that brings you joy. Something that makes you happy, something that makes you smile. Use our relaxation, if we wish, to return to that happy place, to remind ourselves that we can go there anytime. And the more we practice traveling to a happy place in our minds, the easier it'll be to get back there. And wherever you are, seated or laying down, take your time opening your eyes, coming back into life, deepening your breath, starting to move around. We have reached just about the end of today's class. So I'd like to thank everybody who watched and joined while we did yoga today. If you have comments or questions or anything you'd like to say, you can reach out to me directly or leave comments on the video. And if you liked my class and you'd like to return and take more of it, I'll be back every Thursday. So thank you so much for joining. You're all very appreciated. Namaste.